Hey guys, how's it going? Lighty here, and this is part two of my Wander build. So the first part was the Vaal power siphon, dried lake farmer using cheap shit like obliteration. You had an easy way of just farming dried lake for basically 3 to 10C, and you could do that till mid 80s pretty comfortably. So now I'm 93, so I figured I'd make this video. So let's just go over what we have, and we'll see if anything changes, and you can compare it to the last video. So let's go over the gear first. Still Crown of Eyes. We have rare wand, rare shield, rings, and chest. Those are your 5 rare slots. That's it. This is where you have to get all your res on these, but you don't actually have to get res capped, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So Crown of Eyes, I have Shiula. We have Rainbow Stride still, Shadow and Dust, and this is probably new from the last video, is the Wretch. Now the Wretch is an insanely gross belt. It's only really amazing if you're, it's really good no matter what, but it's amazing if you're Pathfinder. And last video was Deadeye, but if you look this time, I am Pathfinder now, and the tree hasn't really changed much. It's just expanded from where we were before. For the gems and the gear setup, we have in our wand, literally leveling gems. In our flip, we're leveling a bunch of wraths, okay? Just literally leveling gems. Shield, we're using Hatred. Lightning Word for movement is helping, again, leveling and lighten. So we have our 4-link helm setup is increased crit strikes, wed, chain, and Vaal power siphon. So this covers our Vaal power siphon setup. We still use Vaal power siphon every time I set up napping. It is integral to the build for clearing, and it really helps a lot. And our main setup is Kinetic Blast. We use Kinetic Blast, Pierce, GMP, crit damage, wed, and crit strikes. Now, we're Pathfinder. Now, I said that earlier. So the Wretch is insane. Life is a dead stat. Cold Res is fine. Fizz damage, attack leech, that's cool. Now, to get the big ones, increased flask duration. We have reduced flask charges gained while using a flask, but that's completely negated by the fact that we're Pathfinder, and all of Pathfinder is basically giving us flask effect, duration, and charge generation. And we also have increased movement speed. Now, if you go to the hideout and you can see our movement speed, we don't have a movement skill per se. Lightning Warp is only for jumping walls and corners. Now, right now my movement speed is 29. And then we go to 165. So when we're mapping, we're moving at 165 move speed, which, as you can imagine, is quite fast. It's actually faster than most people have movement skills, so we're running at this speed. So it's very nice. You can actually get that a little bit higher because my flask is only a 21 roll, and you can get it to a 30. And then also that will increase the flask effect duration. So it's about 180 move speed. And this is an Alchemist Quicksilver Flask of Adrenaline. You can pick one of these up. I suggest you just purchase one instead of rolling one. It costs a couple chaos. Now, if you see our gear, we try to get res. It's extremely difficult to fit res slots and keep accuracy and ES on gear, and try to get wed and added lighting to attacks, added fizz to attacks. Doing all of this while still being able to get as much res as we can. My shield is pretty shit, so is my chest. Even my wand isn't amazing. Now for my wand, we just want to focus on high PDPS. The attack speed doesn't matter as much, because for Kinetic Blast it's just one big hit, and that does as much as we need. We can worry about attack speed later for phase 3 of the build, making we get a better wand. Now, like I said, my res, as you can see, I'm not capped. We have minus 30 from Crown of Eyes even, so it's even harder to get capped. We have no res on jewels, so it's even harder to get capped. But that what comes into play our second flask. Now, that second flask is called Wise Oak. Now, Wise Oak is a new flask. It looks like a little jelly bean, and what it does is it's a bismuth, so it has implicit all res. And what it does is it says during flask effect we have 10% reduced damage taken of each element for which your uncapped elemental resistance is the lowest. Now, that is an extremely odd wording for a new player. It can be really fucking complicated, basically, if you know what that means. And the second part is the same thing, but 20% pen for the highest. So our lowest uncapped res is fire res. All it means is what is your lowest res. That's what the first effect applies for. Second one's your highest. So if you see I have 10% of each damage pen, I pop Wise Oak, I have 40% cold pen. Now, Vessel of Ingtars is, if you don't know about it, is, in my opinion, the stupidest item ever made in this game because of how strong it is. And this is even the nerfed version. This is the lesser version of Ingtars, and it's still retardedly strong. Let's go and fucking Solaris Temple. I just popped my League Stones like an idiot. God damn it, I have to go find that now. I hate that mechanic. Alright, so you'll see my res right now, 30, 75, 68. You're thinking, Lighty, this build can't withstand Reflect, Ellie Reflect. How are you going to survive that? Business Flask, we're at all 75s. So and it lasts, if you'd like to see the duration, it lasts 12 seconds. So every 12 seconds you have to push number 2. That's essentially what it is to play Pathfinder, and it's a very active playstyle to have to constantly push flasks and manage them, but it is extremely rewarding in that you can be under gear level for certain things. Now if we push 2 and then push 3, we have 84 lightning res, and this is with Vingtars up. So like I said, Vingtars is quite interesting in that it shocks you and shocks everything around you, but you notice I'm not shocked, I didn't have a debuff on me. It gives us 20% fizz as lightning, then gives us gross amounts of leech for life and mana. Enough leech till we can face tank hitting 2 reflect mobs at the same time without issue. So this, all our reflect comes from this. So basically always have Vingtars up, always have Wise Oak up. That's the gist of the build. And the reason we don't get shocked is because on Pathfinder, there is a node called Master Alchemist, and it says immune to status effect ailments, status ailments like shocked, ignite, chill, freeze, when we're using a flask. So the second we push 2, we are using a flask, we become immune to it, and we don't have to deal with the drawback of Vingtars. This also means we don't have to ever have any chill, shocking, or grounding, any of the status ailment flasks at all. They don't have to deal with it. We also get 20% chance to freeze, ignite, and shock, which is insane. Now leading up to this, we have a bunch of flash charge nodes. You gain a flash charge every 3 seconds. It's kind of negligible, this ability, but the 20% chance just to not consume flasks is insane. On the other side, we have Veteran, Jesus Christ, fucking English, Veteran Bowie, David Bowie. Gain 10% of physical damage as an extra random element. We have Pen, enemies you kill that are affected by status ailments, grant 100% increased flash charges, so pretty much everything we kill always. That's just insane for damage, okay? Next off, we had Nature's Adrenaline. That just gives us more movement speed and attack speed, which is what we want. We don't really need the damage after the fact, so these 2 nodes are less effective. And all this, of course, gives us flask effect and duration in the small nodes. Now, the third one we use is Rumi's Concoction. Rumi's has been nerfed twice now. So this is the other Legacy version. You can actually get Legacy version in League, same with Viscel and Vingtars, but they're extremely expensive, and you could buy this type of Rumi's for fucking literally like 3C. So at the moment, you can see our evasion chance is actually 0 armor, but we push 4 and we have 27% fizz reduction, and more important than that, we have 50 block and 21 spell block from popping Rumi's. So it's kind of gross. All that shit is scaled up, so our block goes quite high. And last but not least is we need our bleed immunity, and that comes in the fact of a diamond flask of staunching. Diamond is just great because it covers our crit. So it basically double rolls your crit, so in a way it doubles your crit chance. So if our crit chance at the moment is 50%, I pop Diamond Flask. It doesn't show it, but it's basically now capped, and it lasts, again, 12 seconds of Diamond Flask. You're never going to have more than 12 seconds. That's pretty much the highest it goes. And yeah, that's about it. You'll see how the gameplay looks, but I get hit, and you'll see my ES flicker up and down. As long as I have flasks up, you have effective immortality. Our DPS is pretty much one-shot most everything anyway. It's pretty nice. Like, single target's not amazing. Obviously, it took a couple hits there. But that's, again, because we don't have a single target set up, because that's until phase 3. You really don't need it at the moment. So for Vaal Power Siphon, it still works great, and you'll see that in 2 seconds. Boom, everything's dead. And that's in a 4-link, basically. And, you're saying, oh, but you crit, you don't always crit. Well, I mean, my crit chance for Vaal Power Siphon is 50%. Again, with Diamond Flask, you're back at cap. And you can have it up always. So just remember, you have to rotate your flask constantly. You'll see them, people call it pianoing flasks, because it's like you're pushing piano keys, because you're pushing 1 through 5 pretty frequently. And that's true, and it can get a little frustrating if you're a newer player to be that active, but you don't actually have to have your flasks up all the time. Just if you hit reflect, you're going to off-screen yourself, basically. So you'll want to have them up, but it's boom, there's Vaal Power Siphon. Again, it's on a 4-link, and it's plenty. Just you can even do it on a 3-link, probably. Just wed and chain is honestly enough to just do Vaal Power Siphon. The more the merrier when you're doing it. Like, it's still a key part of the build, so like, boom, and it's as satisfying as ever, and it works fine. I'm in a T8 map, and that probably overkilled by more than double their life, so I could do that in T11s really with no issue. Here's Piranus, and this is actually one of the scenarios where this is one of the most lethal things you're going to face. That's called proximity shield. And that means you can't attack through it, or you can, it just does no damage. Proc shield will actually get you killed more than anything in this game on this build, because you'll have Vingtars up, you'll hit the pact, expecting to leech back to full, but proc shield means you did no damage, and you'll just die. Breaches are pretty much a-okay. You have no issues with them, because, you know, just how the build functions. It's pretty nice. You'll see, even on single target, it's a little slow. This thing has Ellie res, and it's dying quite slow, but we can still Vaal Power Siphon and kill a lot of shit without much issue. Oh, that is Toll himself, probably. So even like the single target now, as you can see, it's not amazing, but I can still face tank Toll. You can face tank Toll through his thing. Doesn't matter. You have like capped block almost, and it doesn't do a whole lot. Now it's Toll with multiple projectiles, and his do kind of shotgun, so it's you're quite safe, really, just walking around. Oh, Tollborn, yay. So here's an example of when I won't have a ton of single target, just because, well, you know, I don't have a ton of single target. Kinetic Blast does massive damage if they're against a wall. If they're not against a wall, it won't do massive damage. But it's definitely enough that I have no problem doing it in general. You know, an alternative to that is you can use Barrage. That's the best 4-link setup. Again, it's a little lackluster when you don't have a ton of attack speed, though, is the real issue. And for any scenario where you like run hardcore and you want to go do a boss, but you don't want to waste a portal, or you're doing at 0, you don't want to waste a portal, stuff like that, keep in mind that it takes fucking forever, but Nature's Boon does grant you a flash charge every 3 seconds. So if you did the math here, you know, you have 50 flash charges, 50, 60, so you're at 120, 220, 260. I have 260 flash charges in total. You know, times that by 3, 720 flash charges. Run to the best, is that right? No, 780 flash charges. So 780 flash charges, so 780 seconds of waiting to get full flash charges. So if you really didn't want to die, and you wanted all your flash charges up for every fight, just go AFK for 5 minutes, take a shit, come back, and boom, all your flash charges are up. But yeah, it just feels good. This version of the build, the mapping portion, here's Reflect, does nothing to it all because Vingtars. So that was the mapping demo. It pretty much covered the basics as build works and functions in a map. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Matt Lighty. That covers everything in part 2 of the Ranger Wander. This is the Pathfinder, I guess, Kinetic Blast VPS section of it. And I will see you guys for part 3. And have a lovely day. Don't forget to put your question on last week's video for the Q&A, as I will be doing the draw and response next week. I'm Matt Lighty. Take it easy, guys.